Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel with some breaking news coming from Lewisham, southeast London, where there is currently an ongoing standoff between the Metropolitan Police and an armed man in a building. It's been going on for the past few hours. The ambulance service are on standby, the firefighters are there as well, and the police. The incident is, by the way, happening right outside the Lewisham police station, which is the largest police station in the city in Greater London, and it actually has its own jail underneath as well. But not really sure why this idiot has decided to do this. We have some videos that we're going to go through, some statements that we have from the authorities, and we hopefully will find out during the live stream or perhaps later on the outcome of what's been this standoff, because the first thing we can actually show you is the man himself. He has been shouting, "I have hostages." Now he's claiming he has hostages. We don't have the confirmation of if there is anybody in the building with him or how many in the building. Now obviously whatever was going on wasn't really clarified, but we do have some statements from the police which hopefully would help with all that. Let's go to some of the videos that we have received from people on the ground, and then we're going to explain what else is actually been happening. Let's go to the first one.
I was going to get a bus, but I can't get a bus, so... It's all the way around there, I know.
So you just stab someone in that window?
Listen, you're going to have to just tell her. Listen, there's an incident.
Look right here.
Now, as we speak, this standoff is happening in the Lewisham Centre, near where the market is and the high street as well. Next to that building is the police station that we talked about. Across that is the clock tower. I'm familiar with the area because I grew up in Lewisham, in East Lewisham, Lee Green. So I know exactly where that is supposed to be. But a lot of people assumed initially that it was actually happening inside the HSBC bank branch, because they kept seeing the armed police outside the bank. But we can confirm it wasn't. It's not the actual inside the bank, but it is in the building near it. We can go to by the way, they've closed all these shops that you can see, the herbs and acupuncture, Subway, the Snappy Snap, and all the shops were closed just to be safe, because the window was just on top of above these local shops. Let's go to the next video. Then we have some statements we're going to go through together.
Excuse me, can you keep going to the other side?
For the record, there's a lot of criticism on the police over the last few hours, because the local residents have been saying, why are you not dealing with this immediately? Why are you not going inside? The police slowly decided to actually go inside the building anyway, to talk to him remotely from the outside. But a lot of people were saying, just go in. There wasn't any evidence of hostages yet. Perhaps he might have had people in there or not, but we don't know. But we do have some update on that in terms of what the police eventually decided to do. So the armed police started to get ready, have been getting ready outside the HSBC branch. They said the police were called to a disturbance on Lewisham High Street at around 10:45 a.m. On Monday, today. Officers are currently in attendance at the scene alongside the London Ambulance Service and the London Fire Brigade. They continued by saying, "We are speaking to a man inside an address at the location. Inquiries are ongoing to establish whether anyone else is inside the property. Lewisham High Street section of the A20 remains closed while the incident is ongoing. Now, obviously, that created a lot of vacuum in terms of reporting. So even when it comes to the mainstream media outlets, the reporting has been all over the place. A lot of people have been saying, because the man is claiming to have hostages, it is definitely a hostage situation. The others are saying it's just a random incident. Some people were saying it's just a crazy man with mental illness. All the reporting seems to be all over the place, but we're trying to consolidate all that to actually give you what we know as a fact, rather than trying to speculate like the legacy media. Now, we can also show you the next video we have. Again, this is from another angle. This man who, for some reason, is topless in the middle of winter, like a nutter, holding a knife outside the window. Let's quickly go to this one as well. Now, for those who are familiar with Lewisham, like me, being obviously grown up there, Lewisham has always had massive problems with gangs. Lewisham has had massive problems with crime in general. Although over the last 5-10 years, we had a change of demographic. On the one hand, we have a lot of new build apartments, all these new flats, which is for young professionals, and they're all located near where this man is. So by the main train station, where also the police station is, that's where all the new flats are. So all these white middle class professionals, they're going there, but they don't actually spend any time in Lewisham. They just go to work in the city, in Canary Wharf. They get the train, they get the DLR, they come back to Lewisham station, they go straight to their flats. And so you would think that a lot of these idiots in the local authorities and the Mayor of London, Sad IQ Khan, and all the others have been saying, well, we are making these areas look nicer. But no, because you don't actually have any community spirit. The people who are near Lewisham Centre, the Lewisham Station, in those new expensive flats, they don't spend any time in the community. So it's still very much segregated. You have massive amount of social housing, council houses. You have massive groups in different communities, different neighborhoods and side roads with gangs still going on. So that didn't really work. You actually have made the area even more divided than before. The local pubs, the good local pubs, they're all closing down on, I think it's called, is it Lehigh Road? The road from Lewisham Centre to Lee Green towards east, I think it's Lehigh Road. That one, you had 2 or 3 good local pubs, but for the local people, they were all closed down. The couple of main pubs have now turned into very kind of middle class restaurant type pubs. It looks nice. You could take your dog in there, but it's for a very specific type of clientele. The other places have been completely shut down. Let's go back to the situation that we know. We have more updates as it's coming in to us. But first, let's get a reaction from an ex-police officer from Crime Squad who decided actually to post his opinion on this. He said, in my opinion, regardless of whether he has a hostage, the police should adopt a more assertive approach. They should close off the streets, prepare an entry team, and forcefully enter the flat. This individual likely doesn't have a hostage and is acting out, possibly under the influence of drugs. When they break down the door and use appropriate force, he will likely become compliant. When 50k volts enters into his spirit, he will cooperate, I'm sure. He finished by saying, by not acting decisively, the situation might become chaotic, with the police allowing the suspect to control the negotiation. This could encourage him to perform for the public. There is no need for extensive command centers and numerous phone calls for resolution. Direct action is necessary. Force entry, apprehend him, and of course proceed to more pressing matters. I am frustrated with the current lenient approach to policing. Soft. This is coming from an ex-crime squad police officer. As we said, HSBC, the local branch, bank branch, obviously they were a little bit panicking because people thought the hostage situation is happening inside the bank. They also said that to clarify, the incident is not taking place inside the HSBC branch and no staff or customers are involved. However, we have closed the branch as a precaution. This is a police matter and we remain in communication with the local authorities. So that's the statement from the bank. We do also have a quick statement from the London Fire Brigade saying the London Fire Brigade are responding alongside the Metropolitan Police Service to a police incident on Lewisham High Street. The brigade was called about the incident at 10:56 and crews remain on scene. It's been hours, ladies and gentlemen, it's been hours. Lewisham Centre, with the high street itself, with the shops, with the market, with the police station, with the train station, and that main junction, the roads go to the main areas in southeast London. It's a massive disruption just because one man, topless in the middle of winter, is performing for the public, as the ex-police officer said. What is the police doing? So let's quickly go to the next video. This shows all the local shops who've now been closed down, which again is also bad for the economy, but that's not really the main thing. Safety is more important at this point. But let's just have a look.
Chilling.
So that's the latest clip that we have. We do have some comments from local residents in Lewisham who have spoken out on this matter as the armed police continue to be on the scene. One local resident said, "What an absolute fool. He has decided to do it right next to a police station. It's terrifying. There is armed cops everywhere and we don't know what's going on. We can just see him walking about up there. Why are they not going in?" And we had another person also saying 11 a.m. this morning, he was hanging out the window shouting he was going to kill himself and that he had hostages. Also, considering it's been hours, the guy clearly has a lot of energy. So he must be on drugs or something like that, which we hopefully will find out what's going on. For the record, there's been a lot of mess happening in the same area, the wider area in southeast London. We had armed robbery in Bromley. And literally today, yesterday and the day before, a bit of a messed up situation in Lewisham as well. Last night, Sunday, we had suspects being detained by armed police officers following a serious police incident on Lewisham Way. So this whole thing has been happening, and I love how there is no urgency from the rest of the mainstream media to actually continue to cover this. Officers from the Metropolitan Police's SO18 unit, which specialise in armed response, surrounded the property just after 11 a.m. and imposed the road closure while the operation was underway. The nature of the incident remains unclear, and authorities have yet to confirm whether any injuries were sustained or if weapons were involved. For the record again, this was last night, this other incident. No new update. Now we will wait to see if the police will actually eventually update the media, or if there's going to be any of our so-called local representatives. Let's not forget it's the job of the MPs in each area, and obviously the local councillors, but mostly the MP, to chase it up on behalf of the local constituents. That's literally why we elect one person as a local representative to do this. So we can criticize the police, rightly so. Why are they slow? Are they out of practice? They can't be out of practice because it's London. This sort of thing happens on a regular basis. But we also have to criticize and hold them to account when it comes to the local representatives in general. And of course, the wider policy program from the Greater London authorities. That's Standoff Khan, the Mayor of London, our national government, local councils. Look what you've done to these areas. For those who are familiar with Lewisham, until the 1980s, until the end of 1980s and beginning of 1990s, Lewisham was safe. Lewisham was prosperous. Lewisham was the go-to place because it was located near central London, not too far, but it connected central London to the other parts of southeast and Kent. That high street, the marketplace, it was flourishing. Then you had the late 90s, more mass migration, multiculturalism, segregation, ghettos, crime, criminal gangs. It's been completely neglected. And the last few years, the policy of coming out to build random, ugly, new build apartments and flats for young professionals, young white middle class professionals, finish their university, get a job on 30k salary in Canary Wharf or in the City of London, get that expensive flat shared because they can't afford to pay it on their own, stay in there, get on the train, go to work, come back to the actual building. Every flat looks exactly the same, and you wonder why they don't want to spend any time in the local area. You've segregated the new people, the old existing people. First things first, the actual local natives from Lewisham, most of them have left, and a lot of them obviously are now being neglected, especially the pensioners. They have their own old houses in Lewisham, nothing, no support. Their younger families have all abandoned them anyway. This is what you're dealing with now. And we always say symbolically in Britain, especially in England, when the pubs go, everything goes. This is the change of demographic and culture. It's happening everywhere in the urban areas. Let's quickly get some reaction while we wait for more updates. So we have some super chats. Ivan is back. Thank you, sir. Saying must be a quiet boy with mental health. You mean mental illness? Yeah, that's usually the line now, right? Mental illness. The thing is, you have to be by default crazy to do crazy things, but that shouldn't really be an excuse, right? So you have to be crazy to be a terrorist. You have to be crazy to be high on drugs and do crazy things. That's by default the main thing. But the fact that the media continue to say, well, that's just mental illness, everything's fine. It's not fine. Address the real issue. Clifford says, is the actions of this mentally ill church-going man the fault of Amazon? I love how Clipper basically just upgraded Ivan's message. Yeah, you forgot to include Amazon in the first one. Yeah, so mentally ill, choir boy from Wales, and Amazon. He probably bought that knife from Amazon, right? Let's go to some non-super chats. Mary says, not any report on GB News. I think GB have been busy just reporting on the farmers' protest, which we've done as well. But we try to obviously focus on the things that are not being reported by the mainstream. They usually tend to be behind. They will report it eventually, but it's a little bit slow. J. Donovan says, mental illness is not a good enough excuse. Absolutely. Now, there's a fascinating thing about, by the way, when they go around to also blame drugs, it's an interesting line. They're going to blame drugs rather than the person who does it. And usually they use that excuse to then go after cannabis, right? Instead of the actual hard drugs like, I don't know, crystal meth and heroin. And they'd say, yeah, let's spend more money on the war on drugs. How's that going? Maybe if you address the real issue. Drugs this, drugs that, mental illnesses, autism. They've been talking about autism recently, right? That basically implying anybody who's autistic could be violent. No, that's literally not how. Tends to be the opposite, by the way. Anyway. The drugs on war instead of war on drugs, yeah. Mad Mark UK says, at least today you will be able to walk around Lewisham without fear of getting mugged for a change. Well, you can still get mugged in Lewisham, but the thing is, most of the issues, for example, Brixton, Peckham, partly Catford. When I was a child growing up, my mom was saying, these are no-go zones, don't go to these places. So most of, for example, Peckham and Brixton, just like Lewisham Centre, they built all these new apartments. They got avocado coffee shops. They're changing the whole thing for the hipsters. They got nice nightclubs now. But then you go to the side road at 1 a.m, then you get stabbed. So you can still enjoy the evening. You could do that. But then after you take your last drink, you will get mugged. So it doesn't really help because, again, it's just created more segregation between the new middle class clientele in these areas who don't actually care about the area. They're only there because the flats are slightly cheaper than Clapham, for example. That's Battersea. That's why. It's idiocy. Major 21 says, very hard to be a pensioner in this country. They get no help at all. How about housing them in 5-star hotels? With good food, warm rooms, not shower, doctors. It's interesting how the state and government will always say we have no money for basic support. Not necessarily housing pensioners, but a lot of them do have houses. It's basic support in terms of pensions and heating, which tends to be a short period of very cold weather, especially if you're in the north of England. We don't have money for that. We do have money to send to Hamas in Gaza. That's fine. And we have money to house illegal migrants in 5-star hotels. Yeah. Anyway. Luke says, I am an autistic person that unfortunately does have violent meltdowns and I don't kill people. See? Because Luke still knows right and wrong. It's just not a good excuse to go around randomly say anybody on a spectrum is basically going to be a terrorist. It's just weird. Oh dear. And it says Catford has always been everywhere. Yeah, I never got Catford. Anyway, let's... someone says that Peckham is jank. Peckham is actually worse. Peckham's terrible. Although, again, they do have new avocado coffee shops. Oh, the hipsters. Oh, the hipsters are everywhere. The Outer Limit says, care in the community, in my opinion, only simply does not work. That the whole thing needs an upgrade. We have societal problems, cultural problems, not just political issues. And Heather says, thank you, Heather, from America, saying, this American is afraid of violence in Europe. Stay away from Europe, guys. Just not worth it. Don't do it. Especially for the Americans and Canadians who visit major cities in Europe as a tourist, like they end up going to Paris and Rome and London. It's no longer the 90s. You can't just expect to walk around, enjoy the scenery and not get mugged. Let's just double check to see if we have any more update on this ongoing situation with the standoff, of course, with the armed police and this crazy man. Still a pause. They haven't ended it, so we have no update from the police or the authorities, the local council, to say it's been stopped. So the high street is still closed. The local shops are still closed, and we will obviously we'll be on standby, obviously, the moment we find out exactly what's going on. The moment we find out if he actually does have people inside the building, and are the police still talking to him remotely from outside? Because it's a little bit embarrassing, the way the police have been... and they are saying they're being cautious. That's their argument, but at the same time, I don't think that's a good enough excuse for a lot of local people in the area. Let's get a couple of more reactions before we have more updates. Sean says, free the sausages. We do have some breaking news, by the way, on the issue of Gaza as well, which will come back shortly after this, because guess what? Hamas have decided to break the ceasefire deal. We'll have more information on that for you guys over the next hour or so. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining. As we said, we're going to keep you guys posted on anything else that we find out later on. I'm Maya Tusi, and we are the media.